Good evening, this is Sriya Bapatla from Rutgers University Broadcast, where we bring to you thought-provoking discussions on all matters. Today is Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. Today's topic, gene editing. Is it ethical to use CRISPR-Cas9 technology to prolong human life? We have 4 experts in the field here with me today. They're going to discuss the pros and cons of such technology and the possible physical, economical, and social ramifications of them. But first, let's go to Dr. Ghoniya, a researcher at Rutgers University, and get some background information. Hi, Dr. Ghoniya. Thank you for joining us today. What is CRISPR-Cas9 and how far have we actually gone towards prolonging life with genetic modification?
Thanks for having me. Let's start with the basics. Gene editing refers to a group of technologies that has allowed scientists to alter the DNA of an organism. CRISPR-Cas9 is one specific gene editing approach that has proven to be faster, cheaper, more accurate, and more efficient than other methods.
So how does CRISPR work?
CRISPR was created by mimicking a naturally occurring genome editing system in bacteria. The bacteria take parts of DNA from invading viruses and uses those parts to create DNA segments called CRISPR arrays. These arrays allow the bacteria to remember the virus. If the same virus were to invade a second time, the bacteria would produce RNA segments from the previously saved CRISPR arrays to target the virus's DNA. Then the bacteria use the Cas9 enzyme to cut the DNA of the virus apart to disable the virus.
So basically, the bacteria give the virus a real taste of their own medicine.
Exactly.
How does this relate to prolonging life?
The million-dollar question. Unfortunately, there isn't an immortal gene that scientists just have to find and turn on. Prolonging life is simply the side effect of preemptively turning off genes that can cause harmful diseases. As we get older, our bodies tend to deteriorate. Our joints begin to ache, and we become more prone to diseases such as Alzheimer's, arthritis, and various forms of cancer. Our cells' ability to self-repair decreases with age as well. However, with this technology, we can control and reactivate the self-repair ability of our cells, rejuvenating our joints and other body parts that would otherwise be worn out. In the future, we may even be able to target genes related to specific diseases, thereby reducing the risk of certain cancers and genetic disorders. This would not only increase our lifespans, but the quality of life as well.
What's the current state of research and testing with life prolongation?
So in July, bioengineers at the University of California got a deeper understanding of particular parts of the genome that influence lifespan and health, specifically those parts that are associated with cardiovascular disease. And now that we're getting knowledge on how to use CRISPR to modify these parts of the genome, we're perhaps just a few decades away from being able to substantially increase lifespan. As to whether scientists continue this research or not, that depends on all of us. Adidas Medicine is now a publicly traded company, so we all are able to invest. More than anything, though, going forward with actually implementing this research on humans brings up ethical questions. The science won't be stopping us, but government and public opinion sure will.
That's incredibly interesting. And yes, you make a good point on how the science for gene editing isn't the issue. It's actually introducing it to society. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Ghoniya.
Take care, Shreya. Thank you.
As you may have guessed, gene editing brings up a plethora of ethical issues, ranging from their short-term socioeconomic effect to a very long-term effect on population and diversity. Let's begin the discussion of the ethical issues with gene editing for prolonging lifespans with Senator Arkhipov from Arizona.
Thank you, Shreya. Well, something we need to consider when talking about ending aging and prolonging death is to consider, why do we die? There's many factors responsible for the decay of our body and minds. Our muscles and bones physically decaying, our telomeres, which contain vital DNA, becoming corrupt as they split over and over, and even dementia, which occurs in around 5 to 8% of all adults over 60. That being said, how can we be sure gene editing can get rid of all of these different things working in conjunction to ensure that we die?
Thank you, Senator. Let's hear from the other speakers. We've already met Dr. Ghoniya, but here's Mukund Ramakrishnan, a local anthropologist, and Chianli Hang, a random dude we just picked up from the road.
I think the question, why do we die, posed by the senator, is a very important question. Currently, death is a natural part of the life cycle. If we tamper with it, what might happen? There might be a huge spike in the population. Healthcare for the elderly would increase in cost because there'll be so many more people to take care of. And I know that's a really important issue for the senator going into this election.
As a random dude from the street, I want to be one of the first to get my grubby little fingers on such a treatment. Yet despite how much I spite death, the $2 in my bank account ensures only that the rich will benefit such a desired and inevitably expensive treatment. The last thing I need is Jeff Bezos beating me at life itself.
Fair point, good citizen. The ethics of access is perhaps the most pressing problem that will encounter society once we have an FDA-approved treatment. The current state of for-profit medical innovation in our country will probably result in this treatment being very expensive, way out of reach of the middle class at its launch, which will undoubtedly allow for wealthy, mostly white Americans to access this treatment first. Without a doubt, we'll have a reverse eugenics problem. The government would have to be stringently controlling to access the treatment to ensure an equitable supply to individuals from all demographic groups.
Anyway, we're still talking about hypotheticals here. In order for a medicine to even go public, it must go through rigorous testing by the FDA to ensure that it benefits all groups, no matter race, gender, age, etc. To do this, there will need to be clinical tests on humans, obviously. And how will we decide who to test on? And once we do, how long will it take to truly observe the impact of a drug that's supposed to extend the quality of life?
Trials would have to occur as human challenges, where individuals volunteer fully knowing the potential risks of treatment, with no liability on researchers. Even if a large group of volunteers are willing to perform a human challenge trial, the government may not consider such a risky study. Right now, for example, volunteers at the organization One Day Sooner would willfully be infected with the coronavirus in order to speed up vaccine development, while the results of a phase 3 vaccine trial would be much more immediate than the current process of waiting until trial participants naturally get infected or not in their day-to-day lives. Even then, the government is unlikely to permit such studies from even taking place, even with young and willing volunteers. The extraordinary caution taken by society to make sure that a potential genome treatment will be ethically tested almost eradicates the possibility of such a treatment becoming approved by the FDA.
Say the treatment does become available and is safe and affordable to the point where nearly everyone can be administered it. Older people will be dying less, while new children are being born at the same rate for a while, causing a dramatic increase in the global population. Do we have the resources to sustain a much older population, or is another less pleasant solution to restrict treatment to only those born after a certain cutoff date?
On the surface, it seems like increasing life expectancy would definitely increase population. However, the human population growth rate is currently slowing down, and there's a strong possibility of the curve going back down by 2050, as women have an average number of children below the replacement rate, which is 2.1. Furthermore, the same CRISPR treatments that are now being used to prolong life expectancy would also be used to postpone or even eliminate menopause, which would allow women to space out their pregnancies and decrease the yearly population growth rate. With these treatments, the world's population growth is more likely to stabilize rather than increase beyond the resources available. And as always, if we have older adults that are still healthy and able to contribute actively to society, that only serves to increase our collective wealth and resources. The ratio of dependence to producers will decrease as older adults are able to contribute to society longer, and more of them exist than children are born.
Wow, there's so much to think about. Thank you to all the panelists for discussing this with us. It was a real pleasure having you here this afternoon. To all of our viewers watching from home, what do you think about life extension after hearing from our experts today? Whether you're ready or not, we hope you enjoyed the discussion on the ethics of gene editing and have gained some new insight. Join us back next week at Rutgers University Broadcast for a new discussion. This is Sriya Bapatla. Have a good night.